Good afternoon. In this tutorial, we'll be going over an APA references page. We'll talk about what information goes in each standard reference entry, how to format that information, and how the overall page should be formatted as well. I'll also show you a couple of quick tricks that can make your job a little bit easier. First, you should start with the word references in the center of the top of your page. If you choose to use a bibliography, please know that that is a different part of a document. A bibliography lists all of the additional reading that your audience could do if they're interested in your topic. A references page, however, only lists the sources that you have actually used in your paper. So be aware of the difference. For a references page, you're going to put all of your sources into double spacing, just like the rest of your APA paper. You're also going to use a hanging indent, which you may have heard but you're going to do that by going to this paragraph box, opening up your options under indentation, special, choose hanging, okay, and now you'll see that the second line of each entry is indented. You also may know that your references page needs to be in alphabetical order. If you highlight all of your entries and choose this, sort by paragraph, you can choose that. I don't know why I had to do it twice, but you can see now that all of our entries are in alphabetical order. We're also going to talk about each entry and how each one is formatted. I want to use this one to start. You'll notice that this one starts with the title instead of the author. That's because there was no author. Many of them start with the author's last name and first initial. But if you don't have an author, then you start with the title. In any case, the title is always written with only the first word of a subtitle, or any proper nouns or adjectives capitalized. So if you copy and paste the title from a web page or from a web document, be sure that you're adjusting the capitalization. So you'll notice in this example, the first word is capitalized, November is capitalized, and Native Americans is capitalized, but everything else is lowercase. In this example, only the first word is capitalized. In this example, only the first word of the subtitle, and the proper noun, Native Americans, is capitalized. Okay, so we know we start with our author or the title of our document if there is no author. The next entry is the date. Use as much information as you have available. So in this entry, I have the month and the year. In this entry, I only have the year. In this example, I have the year, the month, and the day. So use as much information as you have, year first, then month, then day. Make sure that you put a period after the closing parenthesis. So author, date, and then the title, remember the capitalization rule, and then the source. The source is where this information was originally published or made public. The source should be capitalized as is. So if on the original document all of these words are capitalized, then that's what you use. The source is also always in italics. The next entry is actually the volume, the issue, and then the page number. But on this particular entry, there was no volume or issue. So I've only listed the page number. If we look at another example on the page, you'll see this case. We have Education Week, and then we have the volume. We have a comma, and then we have 4 in italics. And then the issue is in parentheses, but not in italics. The comma after that, and then the page number, also not in italics. So if you have all of the information, then this is what it's going to look like. But if you're missing some of it, then just skip ahead to the next piece of information that you have. The final piece of any entry is either the DOI or the retrieval statement. A DOI, like this one, is always preferred. DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier, and it will never change. So forever and ever and ever, if you use that DOI, you will be able to access that document, as opposed to a link, which sometimes changes, the links get broken, pages move. It's not quite as consistent. So always use the DOI if you have one. However, if you do not have a DOI, then you're going to include a retrieval statement. If you're finding this information directly from the website, then you are going to just copy the URL of that website and use it as your retrieval statement. Retrieved from, and then the full URL. If you are in a database like EBSCOhost and there is no DOI, then what you are going to do is do a search for the title of the source. So for example, in this one, this Education Week 428, and then it has a DOI. If there were no DOI, we would do this instead. Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second. We would do a Google search for Education Week, and then we would find the URL of the home page, and we would include that. So that would become the entry if there were no DOI. You cannot use www.ebscohost or whatever your database link is, because your audience may not have access to that database. So it's important that you provide them with a link to the original source. Remember, the source is the publication, or the original place that made this document public. All right, we've got author name, date, title with appropriate capitalization, source in italics, volume, issue, page number, and then retrieval statement. There are differences for newspaper articles or textbooks. The APA guide that you have probably available to you in your English class or through the Writing Center does outline how to cite different sources like video files and textbooks. So if you need additional assistance, please feel free to stop into the Writing Center and we'll be happy to help.